Hi, friends. Hello, the world. Welcome back to this episode of Tools for Transitioning Humanitarians. I'm your host, Priscilla Modova, and so delighted to be back and talking to you about different tools that you can use for your transitioning. And before I go into the details of it, I just want to use this to say thank you to all of your congratulations on the marriage that I got married a few days ago, and thank you so much. It means a lot to me, and I will be responding to you as well. But I just wanted to say thank you for allowing me to share this day, the event with you all. So, the topic that I want to talk to you today is about the tool that I think we're not really using or not really using effectively. And that tool is surprisingly and very surprisingly tiredness. And I feel like many of us have been experiencing this so often and also talking about it and complaining about it, how tired we are, yet we're not really using its messages so well, or we're not really using this as a way to then make the necessary changes that we want to have in our lives. So I want to first look at what type of tiredness that we can experience in our lives, and then focus on one particular one and what to do with that if you don't want to experience that anymore. So we know that we have the experience of tiredness that is a physical thing, meaning that we get tired after, let's say, working in the field for so long, or after traveling long hours, or after doing something that's maybe mundane, or after talking to someone for so long and then feeling like we're tired, and we experience that in our physical body. And then there is a tiredness that is an emotional tiredness. And I will be talking more about that emotional tiredness because I feel like many of us are mostly confronted with emotional tiredness, and we're trying to solve it in the way that is not effective. And I wanted to help you navigate through how you can solve it in the way that is sustainable, in the way that is very useful for you. So first, I want to give you some examples of how you could feel the difference between the emotional tiredness and the physical tiredness, right? Because I think many of us don't really differentiate between the two, and therefore we just feel like that's just how it is. Obviously, I worked so many hours in the day, so obviously I'm tired, and then I just go home and we don't really want to do anything. And therefore, I think distinguishing which part is the physical one and which one is the emotional one, I think is so helpful so that if it's an emotional tiredness, then we can do something about it to look at the origins of where it's coming from and what to do about it. But if it's a physical tiredness, we can also do that, but that can be maybe very easily solved by resting, by distracting yourself a bit, or by sleeping more, or by getting a massage, or whatever the things, right? So the way that it feels, the physical tiredness in my body, the way it feels like my joints and my body parts start aching a little bit, and they start like constraining, and they feel like I need to stretch, I need to physically relax myself, and then I need to also go to bed and sleep. Usually, the sleeping part, or taking a massage, or relaxing my body and just sitting without doing anything and just being with myself usually helps with the physical tiredness. Now, the emotional tiredness is interesting for me is because emotional tiredness, I don't really feel it in my body, but I have a lots of buzz in my head. But at the same time, I may have a headache, maybe, or I feel like I don't want to really spend any energy on anything else. I just feel like down, or I just feel like I have no patience for anything else. And the way that emotional tiredness feels like, what's the point, right? If it's a very exhaustive one, and then I start shutting down a little bit. And I was thinking knowing those differences, and then what I see people are doing with the tiredness is that we take it as a sign of resting, which is good, but then also I see that many people take this emotional tiredness and then we just try to bandage it with either we tell ourselves, oh, I don't know what to do with it, this is just how it is, right? So therefore we don't really do anything about it, or we try to maybe distract ourselves with movies, with the internet, and all the things. Or maybe we just think that R&Rs or spending time with our family members will help, and then we just go and distract ourselves doing that. And they may help us as well, and especially distracting ourselves, but still, it does not really address the issue that's creating tiredness to begin with, right? So that's why I find that what tiredness actually can help us immensely, and we're not really appreciating its powers because we just feel like we want to shut down in that moment, is the powers of tiredness, I think, is especially emotional tiredness, is our brain, our being of telling us that we need to change something. We need to change something so that we don't need to experience this anymore. And I think we're not really listening to that powers. And also, the tiredness, I feel like, has the good messages that's like taking care of ourselves in that moment to say that this is the limit you have arrived, right? You can't really go beyond it. So therefore, our brain starts getting in the energy saving mode, and that's a good thing. But at the same time, the tiredness has a great power for us then decide, okay, if I know that this is not what I want to experience again, how do I want to find out where the problem is and what do I want to do with it, right? And we're not really going into that part, excuse me, because we're believing that if we figure out where it is, and we may not be able to handle it, and it will just make us into this like we don't want to open the Pandora box, we tell ourselves, or we are just, I think we're abdicating responsibility of we are not the ones who can figure things out like this, and therefore we'll just keep searching for answers in the internet or from other people, and then we don't really use them either because we don't really believe that they may help us either, and then therefore we just keep like perpetuating the tiredness. Do you see what I'm saying? And the tiredness also has another, I think our like we human beings are built in the way that has a lot of signals, and one of the signals that is tiredness is also telling us is how are we not really respecting ourselves and our schedules, respecting our decisions, respecting our desires, and this is the time to do that. And we're not hearing that message, and therefore we're just like, oh, the life is difficult, or earning money is difficult, or making a career is difficult. Obviously, I will be tired, and the way that I will solve this, I will go shopping, I will go have a great meal, and then I will just everything goes away, and then I go back to the same thing again. And I feel like that those type of solutions are not really solutions because they're just bandaging the tiredness. And one of the things that I really wanted to mention here, my own experience of tiredness and why I like that feeling so much that when my body tells me, is because whenever my body tells me, I know that I need to do something and I'm not doing that. And a lot of the transformational changes that I have achieved in my own life was thanks to that tiredness. I remember several times feeling like I'm so tired of living the life this way. I don't want to be living it this way. I want to live it in a different way. So let me figure out what that looks like instead of just keep reinforcing, keep thinking about it, keep feeling in this mode of stuck. I'm just so tired that I have nothing to lose, so I will just sit down and figure things out. right? And if it wasn't for that tiredness, if it wasn't for that feeling of it's just so not the way I want to live, and if it wasn't for that, I don't think I would have ever changed anything in my life. I don't think I would have ever changed and made courageous steps forward. I don't think I would have quit my job in the midst of coronavirus pandemic, right? I don't think I would have ever done that if it wasn't for that tiredness. So the way that you will recognize how you can decide to do something about it is when you just have this feeling of I'm so tired of this, or I don't want to be experiencing this anymore, right? So these feelings where it just doesn't make sense to keep doing it this way or being it this way. When you have these type of tiredness that is like more emotional and you know it, then you also know that you need to do something to change it. And these are the moments to catch yourself. And then once you catch yourself, oh, you don't want to be living life this way. You don't want to be continuing doing things the way that you continue doing. That is the turning point that we can use to then decide what to do next. I really want you to use this tiredness as a tool for you to make some courageous, some brave, audacious decisions for yourself. That this is the time when you took the responsibility, when you took the accountability to doing and changing something about it. Now, when we start doing that, we usually often get to we need to change something and we start acting and doing something about it. But I would love for you to think first about how are you going to change the thinking behind those feelings that keep creating tiredness. This is, I think, the biggest part that you can focus on first before then starting to do something about it. Because so let me give you an example so you know what I'm talking about, right? So for instance, a lot of people tell me that they are so tired of not being able to disconnect from work, right? They're tired of not being able to disconnect from work. They keep working and keep working, and then they feel tired, and then they keep working more and more, and then therefore it seems like a never-ending story. And at some point, the body does not want to accept this anymore. We just feel like we're like refusing to work. We don't want to work. We resist working, but we keep forcing ourselves to work. Now, in that moment, the solution that sounds like a good solution is just stop working and not do anything about it, and then just switching and like directing our focus into something else. And that may be good, but I still would love for you to first think about what is the reason why you feel like you need to keep working the whole time, right? If we understand that, what is the reason why you feel like you keep working and that keeps generating that tiredness? What is that reason or what is that feeling? And the way you find that out is what happens if you didn't work after working hours? What feeling would you have? Feeling of maybe worry, feeling of guilt, maybe feeling of pity that you don't have anything else to do, whatever the feeling that is. And then what is the thinking behind it? So maybe the thinking is, if I stop working, then I will realize that I don't have anything else to do, that I'm alone, that I'm away from my family, that I'm not spending the time with my family or loved ones that I want. If and then your brain does not want to sit and think those things, and in order to avoid those things, then we just keep working and working and working. Or another feeling that is a feeling of guilt is maybe that I should be doing more. I should be always available 24/7. I shouldn't be taking rest because other people are working, and that feeling of guilt keep being generated, and therefore you keep working and working, and they keep bringing you to the emotional tiredness or physical tiredness. And the biggest causes of emotional tiredness that I have seen so far is worry, is guilt, is self pity, is frustration. And all of this coming from either we are worried about other people's opinion, we're worried about our own opinion, we are worried about being judged, we judge ourselves, we pity ourselves, or we get frustrated about how other people are not acting the way we think they should, or we're not acting the way we think we should. So therefore, all of this keep creating the feeling of tiredness in the end. So as soon as we realize what's behind tiredness, what feelings we can like pin to the tiredness, right? What are the reasons why we're mainly tired? What are the reasons why we're exhausted? And then we can start looking at those feelings and we can start looking at those thinking behind those feelings. And then we start realizing, these are the reasons why I'm tired the whole time. So, for instance, why my tiredness back in the day, I think 2015, when I was having my surgery, and I think I told you the story before, where after having my surgery on my jaw, and I was sitting in bed, and with all the physical pain, but then what I noticed that was so strange is that the emotional tiredness was so much more than the physical pain. Like I couldn't even feel the physical pain as it, but more so I was feeling the emotional tiredness so much. And then at some point I remember thinking to myself, I'm so tired of living life this way. I'm just done living life this way. I just don't want to do that. I have no energy for it. I have no tolerance for it. I don't want to do that. And the biggest reason I found why I was feeling so tired the whole time was because I was just so not taking my life into my own hands. I was always blaming everyone else. I was blaming myself. I was trying to constantly find what's wrong with me, why it's wrong with me, and why this happened and that happened, and this resistance to how I was adopted and all the things. And I was just like constantly in that conflict with myself that just made me so tired that I just realized I don't want to live that way anymore. That's like it. I just don't want to do that anymore. And one of the main reasons why I was feeling bad is because I was just feeling so victimy that I just felt like I was powerless and I didn't know what to do and how to do and all of those things. And I thought, using that tiredness in that moment, I decided that's the moment I will pivot and I change. I didn't know how to do that, but I was like so committed to finding out how I will change that and how I will do that. And I didn't want to just keep my own story of how poor me, how this and how that. And I just sat in that hospital in Germany without anyone at the time because I didn't tell my parents, so they would be worried, and they didn't course have visa to come to visit me anyway, so that's why I did all of this surgery things on my own and everything. So then I remember like even after my friends visiting, I remember thinking to myself, this is it. From now on, I live the life on my own terms. I live the life the way I want to. I don't want to bring myself to the point of being so tired that I don't even notice the physical pain at the time I was experiencing from the surgery on my jaws, but I was so busy with my emotional tiredness, right? I did not want to be in that situation anymore. So that is when I decided. I knew first why I was tired the whole time, and I realized that. And then I was so committed and willing to finding out how will I change it myself instead of waiting for other answers, instead of just like keep searching for answers. I have just decided I will try anything necessary to change, to be in charge of how I live my life, to be in charge of how I move myself from this stuck position to unstuck position. I'm in charge of how I do that and how I make decisions. And I have just started to get to work on it, using my tiredness as the biggest reason why I don't want to be in that situation anymore. And I really want you and invite you to use your tiredness, especially the emotional tiredness, as a way to understand, as the cue to understand that you are in charge of how you can make the change you want to. Now that you understand why you're tired, and also as a cue to understand you can and you are the person who can make that shift, who can make that change, who can make that shift in the thinking, who can make that shift in the feeling, who can make that shift in the action. And you can also be the person who can create the results you want instead of keep generating the same tiredness over and over. And I really want you to hear me this that you can do that. You can decide what to do with that tiredness. You can decide to look at what is really creating that tiredness and being honest with yourself and making changes as to, do you really want to keep thinking this way? Do you really want to keep acting this way? Do you really want to keep creating this feeling anymore? And if you don't want to do that, how are you going to be changing that? By you deciding, this is from now on, this is how I'm going to be. This is the person I'm going to be. This is the person who does these things to change this thing so that I have another result, a different result I want to. Right. So that's why I really wanted to, like, for all of us to have this understanding or this curiosity of, okay, I'm experiencing this tiredness and my body is telling me this for a reason, because we have an amazing built-in system that keeps informing us what to do and how to do next if we're careful enough to listen to them. So if we're listening to our tiredness, especially the emotional tiredness, then we can look at it. Okay, why this is happening? What are the feelings associated with it? And if I don't like them, how do I want to change to the one that I want to? What the tiredness is inviting me to look at it. Where am I not really respecting myself, my boundaries? Where am I really not listening to myself? Where am I really not believing in myself and in what I'm doing? And how to change that? That is, it all can come from this tiredness being a cue, an indicator of making that pivot, making that shift. And I really want you to use that, your own wisdom, your own observation, to then decide, how do I want to do it, to change it. And that way, the more you do it, the more you explore, the more you understand how you are in charge of making those changes. In exploring how you're going to make those changes, the more you trust, or the more you have this feeling of you are in charge of how you do that. You start getting curious about yourself, about your abilities, to a point that then you start trusting yourself that, I'm the person who can make the changes. I don't need to be waiting for other people to tell me what to do or how to do. I can do that. Let me find out what are the ways I can do that. And if I can't do that on my own, I will go and seek assistance or support from someone else. And you can absolutely come to me or to a coach you trust to do this work as well. Because if you have someone else pointing out to you um, neutrally as to how you're thinking and whether you're going in the direction that you really want to, and if you're deviating, that could be a great help. But I really, really want to invite you not to keep ignoring your tiredness, not to keep just bandaging your tiredness, or not to keep just accepting tiredness as, oh, this is just how things are, and not let your body tolerate it so much to a point that it then cannot tolerate anymore and develop certain uh, illnesses, right? Not to let to get to that level, but rather taking that science seriously, especially emotional tiredness, and what are you going to do about it? What are the ways you're going to change it, and what are the ways you're going to use it to trust yourself and your abilities to make the change you need to remove that tiredness, so that it doesn't appear in that form. And if it appears in a different form, then you again know what to do about it and how to solve for it. Okay, my dears, if you want coaching on this, absolutely come join me. I would love to coach you on any of these topics so that we can help you really look at what the tiredness is saying to you. And also, of course, I didn't really mention here the tiredness that is invented, meaning that may not even exist, but we keep telling ourselves that we're tired. That's the other topic that we'll talk another day, but also recognizing for yourself what is the tiredness that you need to do something about it, and what is the tiredness that maybe you need to question and see if it's really there or you just your brain invented so that you don't need to keep pursuing what you want to, right? So that's why on any of the topic of tiredness or any of the topics that we cover, please come coach with me. I would love to coach you to get you to the place where you know what to do, how to handle it in the way that is sustainable, in the way that is not needing any bandaging and not needing any distraction or any shopping or other treats to make you feel better, but rather remove the tiredness from its core. Have an amazing day and week, and I will be talking to you soon.